not our legislature at this moment in time. We're trying to undo some of that. But when it started, we gave the developers a huge amount of power. And people sadly find that they don't have the rights that they thought they did. So it's a big issue. We are now at the place where I don't know how many million, 2 million people in Colorado probably live in HOAs. And you're not going to see a new development come along that doesn't have an HOA attached to it. So I would say buyer beware becomes the theme again, to watch and see what's in those documents before you sign them, whether there's binding arbitration required. There was a lawsuit about a month ago where the court came down on the side of the developer and said the homeowner didn't have the right to sue, that they had to go to binding arbitration. So it's a big issue, and it's, like I say, I don't know if the construction defects bill itself concept will come back this year, but there will continue to be attempts to try to weaken the laws that we already have. So I will just leave the education piece up to my colleagues who actually sit on the education committee.
Yeah, I think that you hit it on the head as it relates to family and parent engagement. Because when you think about what's going on with some of these neighborhood schools, we do need to empower parents more. And we saw several bills this past session on parent engagement as it relates to what goes on in the schools. They want to have more voice. And it does take the parents. That's why you see in the meeting I attended, parents are really trying to understand what's going on. They want to have greater voice. They're trying to understand what's going on with their kids. And sometimes they do struggle with being up to speed as it relates to the curriculum that's being taught and their own parents' literacy. So it is a challenge, but I tell you, parent engagement is so very important to the overall success of the schools. So I think you've identified what needs to happen, because you need the community, you need the school, you need the businesses, because we can't afford to de-invest in any school. Because when you close a school down, which what we have happening in some of these districts where they're up against the accountability clock, which means that you close the school. When you close a school, it sends a very bad message to all the neighbors, all the businesses in that school. And a lot of times you lose students. We've seen it happen in Denver when they've closed schools. Those students sometimes don't come back when they relocate those. So that we do need to wrap our arms around some of these schools and get involved so that we can make sure that we're doing the best for our kids to make sure they get a quality education.
And I don't know how you get a lot of these parents. I know my daughter, she gets so frustrated. The kids that are struggling, it's those parents, they won't come to conferences, they don't answer emails, they won't return phone calls. So I just don't know how you get through to these parents that your child is important. Their education is important.
You're preaching to the choir. First, about parent involvement. One of the reasons parents don't get involved is because they can't get away from work to go to meetings. They can't get away from work to go to Parents' Day. They can't get away to go to after-school conferences. And I know when I was a teacher, I would I would do my best to make the schedule such that I could get the parents in at 7 o'clock in the morning before they went to work, but you can't fit everybody into those time frames. It's impossible. So last year, my husband and Rhonda were sponsoring a bill. It was a parent involvement bill. So if you did have to leave work to get to a meeting, whether it was before school, during the day, after school, you would be reimbursed for that time you were missing from school. Well, of course, businesses don't like that because they don't necessarily want to pay the parent to do that. So, am I allowed to say this? This is something we're looking at again.
But it's unpaid time.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not reimbursed. So
Okay.
It's unpaid time.
Okay, trackers, I made a mistake, and I will own up to it. It's unpaid time off. Okay, unpaid time off, but at least you can leave
without
getting fired and having repercussions.
Yeah,
that's right.
I was approached from someone else in the community trying to get it to be paid. So excuse me. But that is one component. As far as getting more parent involvement, I don't think it's so much that parents don't care. There's so many, boy, this is such a big issue.